No, he getting too much rest.
Yeah, get ready.
He getting too much
And
rest.
then figure the gavel.
No, you getting too much rest, y'all don't like that.
Okay, Linda, you want to pray? Pray for us.
Heavenly Father, we once again come before your throne of grace, thanking you for a wonderful day that you have given to us, Lord. Guide and keep us so that the meeting tonight might be pleasing in your sight. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen.
Join me in the pledge. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would like to mention, Mark Ross is not with us tonight. His mom passed away last week, and we'll be keeping him in our prayers and thinking about it. That's why he's not here tonight. Okay, if we read the minutes and if there's any additions or corrections.
No changes, move they be accepted.
Second.
And motion second, to approve the minutes. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Okay. Move on to item 5, the Arkansas Fire Code.
Yeah, Mayor, Director Connolly of Code Enforcement and Building Services Division is here tonight to talk to the board about the updated Arkansas Fire Code and our possible adoption of that code and its updates, and I'll turn it over to Carl, and he can fill you in on the changes.
Okay, the state fire marshal is in charge of the code in for the state of Arkansas, and it's updated internationally every 3 years. There's a new code printed out. Our last code that we adopted was in 2012. We adopted it in 2014, but it was a 2012 code. There's a group of about 40 people throughout the state. Some are city officials, some are state officials, some are just interested providers of equipment and building supplies and things of that nature that make up this 40 group that look at the code, and then they decide what revisions need to be made to the code to bring it into what Arkansas, our state laws. And that's what they have done. They did it last year, actually, and I attempted to order the code at the first of the year, and it was not available, and they hadn't printed it yet. And they, so I just went ahead and put an order in for it, and we finally received it in, I think it was April the 5th or something like that, when we finally received the code books. So it's consists of 3 different volumes. There's the fire code, the building code, which takes care of mostly commercial or industrial buildings, and any apartment complexes, large apartment complexes, and the residential code, which takes care of primarily 1 and 2 family dwellings. And so we use that code, and we issue our permits on that code. And it's time for us now to update, because they adopted it the first of the year, but we were a little late. We just didn't have the code, didn't have a copy of it. So, and now we have our copy. And I wanted to also let you know that the fire prevention code also requires that we have a board of appeals, in case somebody feels like that we've misinterpreted the code, or that that was not the intent of the code, and we cannot revise the code or something that is required of the code. This might be my interpretation wrong. But usually what I do is, if I have some questions about it, I call the ICC and say, brief me on this, what is the intent of this? One thing we did this year too, We also purchased, the narrative that goes along with the code. And that goes in a little further in depth into what that specific paragraph means as far as the code. So if you have trouble interpreting it, that then gives you a kind of a layman's term of how to react to that code and how to enforce it. So I'll be glad to answer any questions that you have, but you have an ordinance there adopting the code.
So were there any significant changes?
Not really, I haven't been completely through it. It's 3 volumes, notebook size, and each volume is about that thick, a couple inches. And then it took me a better part of a day putting all the Arkansas revisions in, taking the page out and putting the revisions in to the code books. But nothing major that I have determined as yet. But it's a little different format too this time. And so it's taking a little getting used to how they laid it out.
And should we be doing this every 3 years then?
Every 3 years it comes up, but the state fire marshal does it every 6 years. So we just adopt every other 3-year code. So like it was in 2012, we had that one. They were beginning to look at the 2018, and they were just going through that. And I guess with COVID and everything in 2019 and 20, they said, well, gosh, the 21's just about to come out. So they didn't adopt the 2018, they went ahead and waited for the 21, reviewed it, and adopted it.
Carl, on the last paragraph, I'm kind of confused on that. It says, Fire Prevention Code requires a Board of Appeals, which has been the Board of Directors. I'm assuming you're talking about this group
Right.
here.
Right.
But the board does not have authority to waive requirements of the code, so what's,
You can't wait to go. It'd be just an interpretation or, like maybe I interpreted it wrong, but as I said, usually what I do, if I start getting a little controversy or somebody starts questioning me or something like that, I'll go to the ICC and present the case to them and say, you know, did I interpret this right, or is this, did I do it wrong?
so we would have directions from
So usually I
ICC.
resolve it. In the 15 years I've been here, never have had a case.
So make sure.
Never have. 15.
You've been here 15
This is very similar to the land development code we have. It has an appeal process that goes to planning and zoning commission, and they're the final decider of the interpretation, if they believe Carl has interpreted the code correctly. And then they make their decision as final. That never comes to this board. If a person just disagreed with the planning and zoning commission, their next step would be to go to court against the city. And that's stated in the code itself.
Right.
And this is very similar, but the board of directors here would be the appellate board if somebody wanted to appeal Carl's decision. Carl is the interpreter, and it states that in the land development code as well. He is the interpreter of the code. He makes the final decision. I don't talk him into anything. He explains to me if somebody calls and complains. We talk, Carl explains to me the whole rationale. We try to explain that to the citizen on whatever code we're dealing with. And then there's appeal process if the citizen just disagrees with.
But still, the assistant would be from the ICC, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like a commentary, I think. A lot of big documents will have commentary that help you try to do. But still, even the commentary could be
Right.
vague, and the board may have to make an interpretive decision, so.
That's what we did this year. We went ahead and purchased the 2 commentaries. Of course, there'll be a few pages there that we can't use because of Arkansas interpretation and changes.
But it is a step that ensures due process for all citizens, and that's what we try to make sure that even if we have a finding against a citizen, at least they know their due process rights, how to follow it, and feel like they're being heard. And I think Ms. Tally went through one recently on the board, recently here this past week.
So we had some variances.
All right, any other questions? If we want to, you can always pause for a week, or we can go ahead and do it tonight, whatever it is. pleasure of the board.
So go ahead and do it.
What's this?
Okay, Randy?
All right. This is an ordinance adopting volumes 1, 2, and 3 of the 2021 Arkansas Fire Prevention Code for the City of Hope, Arkansas for other purposes. Whereas the Arkansas Fire Prevention Code 2002 edition, 2007 edition, and 2012 edition governing construction of buildings has been previously adopted. And whereas volumes 1, 2, and 3 of the 2021 edition of the Arkansas Fire Prevention Code were promulgated by the State Fire Marshal for the state of Arkansas and became effective January 1st, 2023. And whereas in order to establish the minimum requirements consistent with nationally recognized good practices for providing a reasonable level of life, safety, and property protection from the hazards of fire, explosion, or dangerous conditions in new and existing buildings, structures, and premises, now therefore be it ordained by the Board of Directors of the City of Hope, Arkansas, in Section 1, that the 2021 edition of the Arkansas Fire Prevention Code, volumes 1, 2, 3, as amended hereafter, is hereby adopted. Said code is adopted by reference as if it were copied herein fully word for word. Section 2, the following sections are hereby revised. Volume 2, Section 105.2, paragraph 1, deleted. Volume 2, Section 1612.3, insert City of Hope, Arkansas on October 1st, 1981. Volume 3, Section R 105.2, subparagraph 1, deleted. Section 3, prior to the connection of any water or electric service to any new structure within the corporate limits of our City of Hope planning area, or any account information change, or any existing non-residential building within the corporate limits of Hope by Hope Water and Light, a release from the building official or city manager is required. Section 4, the Board of Directors of the City of Hope, Arkansas shall act as any Board of Appeals referenced to in volumes 1, 2, and 3 of the Arkansas Fire Prevention Code. Section 5, all ordinances and parts of ordinances in conflict herewith are repealed to the extent of the conflict. Section 6, this ordinance being necessary for protection of the public peace, the health and safety, and emergencies hereby declared to exist, and this ordinance shall be in full force and effect from and after its passage.
All right, thank you, Randy. Is there a motion to suspend the rules?
So moved.
Second.
Steve Montgomery,
Aye.
Reginald Easter,
Aye.
Linda Clark,
Aye.
Trevor Poppy,
Aye.
Tiffany Towns,
Aye.
Mayor Steele.
Aye. Motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second. Steve Montgomery,
Aye.
Reginald Easter,
Aye.
Linda Clark,
Aye.
Trevor Poppy,
Aye.
Tiffany Towns,
Aye.
Mayor Steele.
Aye. And motion clause?
So moved.
Second.
Steve Montgomery,
Aye.
Reginald Easter,
Aye.
Linda Clark,
Aye.
Trevor Poppy,
Aye.
Tiffany Towns,
Aye.
Mayor Steele.
Aye. Okay, thank you very much. All right, we'll move on to item 6.
Yes, sir. Chief Tomlin couldn't be here tonight. She had some school event with her son, our daughter, and so I'm going to present for her. Y'all are very familiar with the STEP grant. I don't think it's anything new. We've done it for, I don't know, 25, 30 years probably. And we're just asking the board to allow us to make application again. This year we'd be seeking $33,869.71 in federal award. And then we have to do an in-kind match, 15,22308. And like they say, there are approximately a little less than 5,000 would be allowed for us to purchase safety seats for our local citizens, which we do each year. So we're just asking the board's approval of the application.
Is that different from last year's amount?
I think that 5,000 is, because it's usually always been 3,500.
That's what I was thinking.
But it must be different this year when they, it's usually around 3,500, it is larger this year.
All right.
Make a motion to make application.
Second.
Motion second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good. Thank you. Moving on to the stop grants.
Yeah, the next one's very similar. You know, we've probably been doing this one for 15 years. This pays for half of one detective's position, and we dedicate that detective to domestic violence. In fact, Casey, you're the domestic violence officer. He ensures that we meet the criteria of this grant, that we fully investigate all domestic violence complaints made, that we do not drop those cases at the police department level, that all those cases are referred to our city attorney, or if it's a felony case, the prosecuting attorney, for adequate review and consideration for prosecution. And we do everything we can to help the victims and to stop the violence. We're asking this year that the board would allow us to make application again. It would be somewhere in the amount of the award would be $26,683.01. It does require a $10,000 in-kind match. That's not cash. That's just work that we do in kind. And we're asking the board to allow us to make application for the STOP grant that is paid for by the federal government, but it transfers into the state. We make application to the state for the grant.
All right. That's done. Your motion?
So moved.
Second. Okay, motion second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any carries? All right. Item 8.
Well, y'all know how much I think about Miss Natasha over there. She's great, and she gave me her resignation letter, I guess a couple of months ago now. And she graciously said, "Hey, I'll stay on as long as you need me till you find somebody." I have talked with Amber Murr. She is our HR and administrative assistant, to ask if she'd be willing to take on this appointed city official role of City Clerk. She is willing. Historically, this is what has occurred in the past. That's a good position to have this job, because that position has to do a lot of the work anyway, the filing and the dealing with the public and going to the courthouse and things of that nature. The only thing Amber really doesn't do is come to the meetings and take the minutes. So it's it's really it's a good fit if we can do it this way. She's willing. There would be a pay increase, and she could start beginning. Well, I got June 30th here. June 29th is the beginning of a pay period. She's going to be out some during June, so she wouldn't be able to make some dates. So if you could go through June for us, if the board approves, and then she would start in the July at the July meetings. And if y'all will, I'm making that nomination to the board, and the board has to confirm that nomination.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Okay, good deal. Going on to the financial on item 9.
I'll ask Miss Cindy to come up, and I think what we did last time, we'll just go, if you have a question on a page, if she has some comments, she'll make it. But if you have a question on a page, just tell her what page and what line item, and she'll go through 1, 2, 3, and keep going like that. All right, Cindy?
All right. Page 1.
Miscellaneous, under board of directors, line 7,000.
That is express personnel for the, city manager
Gotcha.
search.
All right.
Page 2.
Just to let the board know, we should be on typical lines that go out on a constant flow, we should be at around 33% is what you should see. If you see something below that, we're good in terms of expenses. If you see something above that, we may have to be in a position that we can provide to.
Page 3. Page 4.
5570 on fire suppression, the special supplies, it's at 91%, but that's for a one-time, he bought hoses and they were budgeted in that, item, in that line item. Page 5, I will mention, under Parks and Rec maintenance, the 5920, that was the employee that, we, paid, for back papers.
Okay.
And I think at the time when we talked about it, it was 40,000, which was correct, but we had to pay interest on that, which was about 18,000, so it was, 58,000.
I've got to
Where
break,
can I invest in that?
Yes.
I've got to break down,
Exactly.
I've got to break down the actual numbers from APRS if y'all would like to see it here on this page. But it did go back to 2004, 2007. So we,
13 and a half years.
That's good.
Yeah.
Nice bonus.
Page 6.
in line 6,000 on that page, in non-departmental, line item 6,000, that was where the cleanup day, and that's the payment for, everybody's lunch on the cleanup day.
And the rest of it is chamber banquet. Under code enforcement, under the dues and publication, that, is over because of those two books that those books that he was talking
And the
about.
commentaries,
Yes.
because we got commentaries this time that we didn't have before.
Page 7, that's, the sales tax fund, on the county sales tax, from last year, we're up a little over 6%, and the city sales tax is, almost 8% up from what we collected last year, at the same month last year.
Yeah.
Hey, if we could, I'll just make a little more comment on page 6. If you look at the very bottom numbers, you'll get the all expenses in the general fund. And to date is 1,713,184, and we're budgeted 544 million. That's 31.5%. So even though we're over in some lines, down in some lines, we're still below the 33% target of what we're looking for, just to kind of give you a good idea.
Page 8.
So in that police department, the car count, is that completed or is there still more out on that?
What line are you looking at?
I'm sorry, 5226, Capitol Police Department,
I think that's complete.
I think it is.
so we'll come in under the 20.
Unless there's some peripheral things they might need, I would think that, body and car cameras, that comes as a package deal unless they need some wires or things of that nature when they go to put it in.
That's the server, that's a new server,
Yeah, as I said,
one card server,
Installed.
I think it's completely
installed and been going now for
Yeah,
a couple months.
and that also had redactive software in this too? I think it is. Because it's 13 something, the server was like 5,000 or
Yeah,
6,000.
yeah, yeah.
The redactive software was 13. I think they just got the redactive software.
Just got that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Page 9 doesn't have anything on it, it's just page 10. And 5560 postage and office supplies, we have subscription, to like QT Pod, that's $24.75, and I don't think it was not budgeted in that line item. It has previously been coded in 5,500, but that should only be for aviation fuel, so that's the reason why that one's open. think that that is everything other than unexpected things, other than, there's $1,500, for coal mix that's not included in that 413,000. But I talked to Kenneth today, and he thinks it's everything other than if it's something that just comes up that, you know, he's not expecting.
And just to remind the board, that 358 was budgeted, but, you know, when the committee met, we agreed to spend, it was like 390 something, it was up, and we took into account, we were receiving the Timber Creek money that we hadn't received, we did get that, $41,000, so, you know, we're really not that far off from the revenue if you add the 41,000 to the 358. We have had some other expenditures that have had to come out, and that may happen. I know we got a few more things to do with some overlay. We got a truck coming back in. We'll be doing a little bit more there, so that'll go up a little bit, but it's kind of the way it's worked out.
Page 12. The 5580, the dumpsters line item, the 4,400 is the wall that they built around the dumpsters, that's the hub that y'all approved, for that. Page 13. On 5145 under communications and general tech, that's some yearly things that are in there that we've already paid, for the whole year.
Landfill, that 5710, that
Yeah,
contract
there's-
services.
There's also, yearly contracts in there, that 3390 is for yearly inspections from ADEQ, and the majority of the 13,000 is engineering, like, annual engineering.
And we're gonna have higher engineering fees than typical. I mean, we always have groundwater monitoring and gas well monitoring fees. That's kinda in this, the line right below 5760. But remember, we have this remediation problem on the old landfill. And so, as the engineers do work, they bill us, and that wasn't always, I don't know if that was necessarily budgeted in, or we knew how to budget that in at the time, and that's gonna occur, until we finally get some resolution on how we have to proceed. And when we decide to proceed, y'all just get ready, because we're trying to get the post-closure trust fund, to give us the money to pay for that remediation. So that's what we're waiting on now. We've got our plan, the engineers have the plan, but they haven't even submitted it for ADEQ approval yet until we get a decision on the closure, post-closure. If they end up paying for it, it'll all be smiles. If they don't end up paying for it, we're gonna look at close to $500,000. So just be prepared.
Page 14. The, capital outlay, the 5850, has, the generator that was not budgeted for this current year, 62,295, that we couldn't get last year. So, that's why that's over. Okay, page 15.
Well, now, what are some, like I say, you're over 50% on the, as far as on the operation part of it.
For wastewater, for.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
well,
lab supplies, already for the year, or?
No, if you look at 5503, the waste plant maintenance, that is where, we had the, filter system repaired, it was an insurance claim, which if you look, up there in 4530 in this latest revenue, the municipal league paid us $69,680 on that claim, and the rest of it, the 90,000 or so, was paid in a previous year, and actually in 2021. So it's gonna show up a large expense, but we actually got all the money for that except for the $10,000 deductible.
So what makes this looks bad is just the timing issue of the way it's coming into our reports.
Well, on the revenues, like I said, on the grant, we're not getting that grant, so.
That's right,
Right.
that'll be a wash. Yeah.
So looking at the revenues are, if you times three, it looks like it's gonna be about where it should be, but.
Well, let me do say this on the grant money, we are still in the running for some ANRC money. I got notified by email, a couple of weeks ago, and, ADEQ or some committee they had was supposed to meet, and they postponed that meeting for another month down the road, but we may, fingers crossed, we may still get some money. We'll see how that goes.
Page 16 is just, the bond payment. 17, that's the ARPA funds that we really haven't done, anything with so far this year. Just the interest from the checking. Questions?
You got your feet up, taking it easy.
Always.
Thank you.
Until the city manager runs an office, says, where's this? And we're looking for 2 hours for something I probably have on my desk. Oops, I have to apologize, sorry I wasted your time.
I'm seeing it, JR.
Yeah, not a whole lot here, I just wanted to let you know, the board had asked me, well, I'll say some members of the board had asked me to, for us to maybe consider what it may cost to build additional sidewalk, on Pine Street between Division and Second to kind of finish that block off. I did talk to TCC, and we're gonna meet tomorrow, and they want me to show them what I'm talking about, and they'll give us some idea of what they might charge us to do it if the board wanted to do that. So I'll get you the number, if that's what you wanna do, we can move forward with that. If y'all want, I didn't know if y'all wanted me, it was put to me like a sidewalk, but I know y'all had talked about having a second drive into the parking lot. Would y'all like for me to ask for that, what it costs to add that second drive that would come out on Elm Street, so a bus could come in off one street and then go out the other way instead of having to make the turn around?
Come out on Elm Street?
Pine Street, I'm sorry, Pine Street. I'm sorry, Pine Street.
Long driveway.
That ought to be high.
Yeah, let's go ahead and just
You may-
figure it.
you may
That'd be
figure.
okay, just see what the number is.
That okay with everybody? Okay, I'll do that. Also, then the last thing I have is tomorrow, we're meeting, we have just to remind the board, most of us are in APRS, Arkansas Public Employee Retirement System. Y'all familiar with that? We don't manage that, that's managed by the state. The fire department is in the local police and fire, system, a lot called LOPFI, and that's managed by the state. But if y'all remember, we have an old local fireman's pension. There's probably about 12 or 13 members still on the old local fire pension, and it's made up of a board of those firemen. I sit on that board and represent them. We do their financial stuff, and we work with a money manager that helps us manage the money so we can stay solvent and actuarially sound to make the payments. The city, do you make those payments? We make those payments monthly to those firemen that are on the pension and or their families. Some of them have passed away, and the pension rights go to their spouse. There are options for us not to have to manage that. One of those is LOPFI. There's a rule in place where LOPFI would like to take that over and just incorporate them into LOPFI. Now, that's a decision by that local fireman's board. It's not a decision. It will become a decision for y'all eventually, but initially it's a decision by their board of whether or not they even want to do it. Well, they asked us earlier in the year to look in, to get with LOPFI, to have an actuarial study done, and to see how it would affect them if Lofty became the manager of our local police and fire pensions fund. So we couldn't do that until April the 1st, was April or March? April. So April the 1st, we sent in our $750 that's from their pension monies that they agreed to pay. We requested the actuarial study. We got the actuarial study back, and we had that in document form. So we're having a meeting tomorrow morning at 7:30 of the board. And lot fee representation, the actual director of lot fee is coming down to speak with our board on behalf of lot fee to try to see if the board will make a decision to be incorporated into lot fee. So if the board makes that decision tomorrow, or they make that decision a month from now, if they listen and answer all their questions, eventually that has to come to this board after they make their decision, and then you guys will have a decision process, and then we can sign off on some papers, and lot fee then takes over the pension management. And the city's out of it. That Cindy's out of it, I'm out of it, their board is out of it, and it just becomes part of the lot fee management system. But based on what they decide tomorrow, or in the future, I'll bring that to the board, you'll know it, and then lot fee's gonna help us walk through the process, so we do everything legal, all the documents that we need to sign, or they'll have them, and we'll get Randy to review it all, make sure it's all good to go, and just wanted to let you know that's happening tomorrow at 9:30, I believe, is what our meeting is. And right now, they have about, in the pension fund, somewhere 1.8 million, roughly, between the checkbook and investments. And we are actuarially sound, and their biggest issue was, well, if we do this, will we get the 3% cost of living adjustment? And the answer to that, we think, is yes, they will, so that will benefit them. And they don't lose the one-time payment at the,
It's future supplement.
Future
One time a
supplement.
year, they get an extra payment.
that was the other question, will we lose that extra payment? And the answer to that was no. So we think it's gonna be amenable to the board. I'm saying all this because I think this is gonna come before you at some point, and I want you to be aware. I don't want you to come to you blindly with it.
All right, good deal. We'll be ready for it. All right, any other questions from the board?
Let's go swimming pool report, lifeguards.
We have them. We have
Yeah.
10 lifeguards signed and
Who's
signed and sealed.
Who's over that?
Well, so Robin is the main manager, but he doesn't want to work full-time, and I don't think he wants to do this very long-term, so Robin is the main manager. We've got another young lady who's the assistant manager learning the ropes. So hopefully if Robin doesn't want to continue this, like next year, we'll have someone trained that maybe can learn the pool system, and that assistant's also, I think, serving as I think it's assistant / lifeguard. Is that correct? It was on
I
the
think so, I haven't seen.
change
the
of
paperwork.
status.
Well, we'll see. It's good to know we got them.
Yeah.
We'll just have a call. Anything else from the board before we move to citizen request? Anybody got anything they want to share with us? Going once, going twice. All right, meeting is adjourned.